Hello, Mr. Buchanan's Algebra 1A, should say A up there, 1A class. This is the product rule puzzle worksheet. I want to do half of it for you, help you on one half, and then you could do the other half. And if you look up a product rule or exponent calculator online, that would help you if you're having trouble with the second half. So if you just Google exponent calculator, and usually the Symbolab one is a good one. Symbolab, that's a good one to go to. And I'll show you that before we wrap things up today in this video. So if I'm taking x to the third times x to the fourth, all I'm going to do is add those exponents and I get x to the seventh. This basically is a 3 times a 1. That's going to be 3. So then I have x squared plus a 1, so that's going to be x to the third power.
Chloe just arrived. Roman.
Okay.
Do you want her?
Probably.
Send her right back here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I have 2 times 3 gives me 6. And x2 times x gives me to the third power. I have 1, 2, 3 x's here, and it'd just be 1 times 1 times 1. So that's just going to be 1x to the sixth power because I'm just adding all of the exponents. I'll be right with you. Here I have x to the fourth times a negative 3x to the second. Negative 3 just stays negative 3 because that's negative 3 times 1. And I have x to the fourth plus x to the second. I'm adding those exponents, remember, so that's x to the sixth. I have a negative 2, and I also have a negative 2 here, so that's going to be a positive 4, and x squared plus another x1, so 2 plus 1 is x to the third. This is going to be basically 1 times a negative 1. That gives me negative 1. And a negative 1 times a negative 1 gives me a positive 1x. And then I just add the exponents. This is 4 plus 4, and this would have been a 1 since I don't see anything there. So that's going to be 9 altogether, x to the 9th. All right, taking a look at the second half here. I have 9 times a negative 1 gives me a negative 9 because there's nothing there, it's just a negative. So we're just going to, in our minds put a 1 there. Then I have a to the second still, no other a's. This b2, b3, the 2 and the 3 add up to be a 5. A 3 times a negative 3 is my negative 9. I have a to the second, and then I have b, and I have c to the third. I have then just a, b's, and c's here. I'm going to have it negative because it's like a 1 times a negative 1 is going to be negative 1 times a 1. It's just going to be a negative 1 value of all these a, b's, and c's. I have a 1 plus a 2, that's 3. And I just start adding the exponents. B, I have a 1 plus a 2 is a 3. C, I have 2 plus a 1 is a 3. Here you can take a look at negative 3 times negative 3 gives me 9. I have ended up with 2 A's, 2 B's, and 2 C's. This ends up being a negative a to the third, b to the fifth, c to the second. Negative times a negative is a positive. Positive times a negative is a negative. That's why it starts off as a negative. I just have one coefficient here, 9. And I put my A's together to get 3 A's. I put my B's together to get 3 B's, and I put my C's together to get 5 C's.
You're reading, Mr. Whitehall wanted to send this student in here, but if you're reading, it might be.
I'm not. I'll be done in a second.
Okay.
You could send them in.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Right.
And then I have 3 times a 1/3 gives me a negative 1.
When you're done with that first section.
I have A to the first,
Thank you.
B to the third, and I have C to the second. Okay, and like I said, go to Symbolab if you're looking for exponent calculator. Exponent calculator, just Google it, and it will pop up Exponent Calculator Symbolab. This is the one that you want to choose, and then you could use their keypad in order to work some of these out on the second half. You could use the same letters and everything, and it'll help you work it out if you're having any difficulty with the second half. Good luck.